With investors lately getting nervous and craving safety, maybe this is Aqua America's time to shine. Yep, Aqua America, symbol WTR, water, the private sector water utility that's up 5% for the year. Not too shabby considering that after the recent declines, the S&P's only up about 1%. The water business may sound totally boring, but we know that for about a decade, starting in the mid-1990s, Aqua America was a tremendous growth stock, rallying terrifically year after year as they kept gobbling up smaller players in the highly fragmented water business. Lately, though, the growth has slowed. Stock's been a little stalled. That said, there are still numerous opportunities here as the private sector water industry remains ultra-fragmented. Currently, there are 10 publicly traded companies in the same space. Meanwhile, Aqua America has been getting in on the great American energy renaissance by providing the water used in hydraulic fracturing in Pennsylvania's rapidly growing Marcellus Shale. Now, Aqua America reported a solid quarter last week, a 1-cent earnings beat off a 23-cent basis. Revenues came in a tad light. Stock sports a 2.4% yield at these levels, which after tax considerations is certainly better than 10-year treasuries. So let's take a closer look with Nick Debenedictis. He's the chairman, president, and CEO of Aqua America. Learn more about his company and where it is headed. Mr. Debenedictis, welcome back to Mad Money.
Thanks for having me on, Jim, and welcome from Philadelphia.
Well, terrific to have you, Nick. And I just want to go right to your conference call where I thought something really impressed me. You said, it is unique for me after 22 years to actually say we have extra cash. Everyone likes your stock as a dividend play, but we also like the new growth. What's going to happen with that oddity of extra cash?
Well, after 20 years, we've turned the corner, and we now bring in more cash than we spend on capital. Although we get our money back through rates eventually, it's always nicer to have and not have to have any new equity floated or borrowing new money to do your what has to be done, fix the infrastructure in this country.
Now, you have been making a lot of acquisitions, but you're also kind of horse trading some spots. Like, how do we know what is central to the core and what you can, let's say, cut and sell to another guy?
Well, Jim, I was thinking back. In the 90s, we grew rapidly. We doubled in size. First time I was ever on your show, it was called Kudlow and Cramer, and we were talking about the rapid growth in the industry based on acquisitions. And we've doubled since that size. Most of our growth occurred in the last decade when the electric companies all had got, remember Enron? Sure. Enron got in the water business, companies like that, Duquesne, which is no longer a listed stock. We bought a lot of their properties. And what happened was we had to buy them all, and then we started in the late part of the decade what I called pruning the lower performers. So in the last 3 years, we've actually exited 4 states and increased our assets in states like Texas and Ohio, where we're doing very well.
Okay, so I know you've done 7 acquisitions this year. Can you explain, once you acquire a system, what you do to get it up to snuff?
Well, the first thing we do is make sure the water quality is up to par. And many of these small systems have not followed the EPA rules, have not had the money to invest. So they're actually in violation of the Federal Safe Drinking Water Act. So that's the very first thing we do. We make a commitment to the regulators and we fix them. We then put our staffing in there, hopefully train the existing staff, a lot of times inject our own people to get them up to the best of breed. And then we go out and see if there's anybody else on the outskirts of that system that have been turned down for looking at growth because they didn't have the capital, and we try and grow the system that we just bought.
Well, I know a lot of people are suspicious of water where I live, and we use bottled water. When you come in and you take over a system, do you see people switch back to your water over bottled water because they know that the water's now cleaner?
Well, many of these, the water is so bad that it's rusty, actually dirty looking. You would have a hard time taking a shower in it, let alone drink it. That's the first thing we do. We obviously have to bring it up to standards, but we also fix the aesthetics of the water. And I think that convinces people maybe I can go back to the tap because, you know, it's 1/100th of the price of bottled water.
Well, that's what I wanted to talk about because, look, everyone knows that hydration is something that is taking the place of soda. Soda sales are down a lot. A lot of people recognize that the cost of coffee is so high versus water, that the cost of Evian is so high. Coca-Cola, are you like winning some sort of cost battle and you're seeing more people drink water, which actually could impact your earnings?
Well, we're hoping 1 cent a gallon is what an average gallon of water that we treat is, I would say, just as safe, if not safer, than bottled water because it's tested more by the federal government standards. If you want to just fill up a nice fancy bottle and carry it with you, it'll look just as good as that bottle you're paying $1.25 for.
Well, I got to tell you, Nick, it's impressive. This is what the kind of stock the market wants right now. I'm glad you got the excess cash. I think there's a lot of good things going straight. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, guys, solid growth company with good dividend. Sometimes maybe that's the antidote to the craziness we're seeing. That's Nick Debenedictis. He's the chairman, president, and CEO of Aqua America, which, by the way, was the water company I grew up drinking, and we didn't use any of those silly bottles. Stay with Cramer.